Yo, what's up guys? So we're here to talk about the newer Orcust combos that you can pull off now in the game. And we're just a few days away from getting Apollousa, which is just going to be the best option for the newest combo that gives you the most similar effect to what you had before with the Rusty Bardiche, which is mainly just the double fog blades. With this card, one thing that's important I want to mention real quick is Apollousa. When it gets its stats boosted, you can still use the effect, even if it would be reduced to 0, and you boost it up to, as long as you can get it up to plus 800 attack, you can actually use that effect of Nightmare to actually utilize the extra negation with Apollousa. Obviously, this effect does not last forever, it only lasts until the end of the turn, so that stat will go away. However, I do want to mention it because it is actually important. Another thing is you do need to make Apollousa before going into your Nightmares effect. So basically, this is going to give you the closest effect to the original combos before. Whether you go for Crescendo or Babel, it doesn't really matter. The main thing is basically you're just trying to get that extra negation, and this is going to allow you to do that. But I would say this combo is even better because if you think about it this way, yes, it does require a combo extension. However, you can't lose out to Twin Twisters. I mean, a lot of times when you go for the 4 Orcust combo and then you would have Babel instead of Crescendo, your opponent would Twin Twisters and then they'd be able to go completely off. Now, in this instance, yeah, you're not going to get wrecked by Twin Twisters, which is really good. With the addition of course, Solemns and Dark Holes, it might be necessary to negate one of those, so that's why you could maybe have the Crescendo for that. But this card is just absolutely amazing. Multiple negations here. Once again, we had 700 attack. We got boosted up for another 800. In this instance, we're going to go ahead and attack. It's going to proc the effect of Shizuku. But Apollousa is just going to be able to negate. And that's just something that I think is very important, once again, to mention here. You're going to be able to get an extra free negation out of it at the end of the day. This is kind of a thing I've noticed in a lot of other people's Orcust builds. They've been maxing out on instant fusions now. You can make window. This is nothing new, but it's basically extend your combo to go ahead and make Apollousa instead of going for the Rusty Bardiche. It does require you to go for the combo early on before the Nightmare, like I mentioned before, and we'll get into other things that you can do because I've seen a lot of other YouTubers upload where they're showcasing off the older Orcust combo, which is basically the Topologic, and then you can maybe Longirsu them sometimes. It's kind of random if you're going to be able to fully get that off, but basically you're able to summon Symbol Skeleton during your opponent's turn, and the Topologic will go and pop all the main monster zones, and then you can follow it up with a Dingirsu later on, and I'll kind of explain that in a moment here. But the ideal combo is to make Apollousa, and from there you'll be able to get your extra negations out through that tactic. And I think because it's generic, because you can utilize it in a Danger variant, you can utilize it in a Muramel variant. There is a Crusadia one, however, it requires so many extra cards in the extra deck that I feel like a lot of people won't be really willing to try it out, but I will mention it here because this is the whole point of this is to kind of show off the newer Orcust combos that you can do. And thanks to my homie Broken Gunshot here for showcasing off his plant variant, which this also works in a plant variant. No Brilliant Fusion, by the way. I know Brilliant Fusion can be excellent, but you have to play some cards that you probably don't want to draw. But really what it comes down to is just another card, because we, of course, lost Rusty Bardiche. It's not going to be as free as it used to be. But you can still go into, again, Topologic. And I'll mention something that's quite important in this gameplay here. So, you go ahead and make Galatea, then you go ahead and go for Harp Horror, and then you go for Decode Talker instead. You can, however, make a Longirsu, and I'll mention this play once we get pretty much to the point of it. And then we're going to go ahead and boost up the Trickstar, not that it really matters. But this guy, don't mind this card, just does like 1,000 burn damage. So he's going to go ahead and make a window. Okay. Important step right here, if you are doing this without the Apollousa, this is like the alternative combo that a lot of people are showcasing off as the new Orcust combo, but it's actually the old Orcust combo. One thing that's important, if you decide to go for the Topologic, you want to put it in the right zone right here. In this build, we are also playing the Longirsu here, so you want to put it right here where the other extra monster zone is. And where the Shadal window is, you want to actually place the Longirsu over here. Obviously not at the same time, because then you'd lose out on your other cards. Technically, yes, Dingirsu can protect your other cards, obviously. However, if you are going for that combo, I just wanted to mention that, yeah, ideally that is possible. And another thing I wanted to mention, there was a few other combo tutorials showcasing off that the following turn you'd be able to summon the Dingirsu, then protect all of your cards. However, there is a downside with the topologic that I've seen several people upload this. It's a mistake that I've seen. But anyways, when you destroy all the monsters, the main monster zone, also your other monsters can't attack for the rest of the turn. So it doesn't actually OTK, which is the huge downside of that effect, but it doesn't really matter. For the most part, you will be winning most games. So you can utilize this again in dangers, Mermail variants. If you're playing the plant variant or the Crusadia variant, this is going to be very, very easy to pull off. And I will go ahead and give you guys a short little deck profile just showcasing off this build over here. Because I think the plant build is going to be very, very strong, especially with all of the newer plant support. Even, again, this is no Brilliant Fusion. It's basically, you get another Instant Fusion, and Instant Fusion is very important. Again, for so many decks that can just run one card that just negates some type of ability that you have, or forces negations, essentially, which is something that I really like. Especially if you're playing the Mermail variant, when you go for the first turn Millennium Eyes, this is kind of like the bread and butter play. A lot of people are doing it. I'm just showcasing off another variant of it. And in this case, we happen to have Babel and Crescendo. You just search out the whatever other one. You technically have Terraforming as well. But again, important thing, Whirlwind is where you want to put Dingirsu, and you'll be really good to go in that aspect. Again, this will protect your stuff as well, because it does pop everything, but it won't really matter. But basically, instead of making Rusty Bardiche is when you make the Dingirsu, and then you go ahead and go Dingirsu plus the Galtea, and then you go ahead and make the Topologic, and then you'll have access to, of course, Symbol Skeleton and or Horror, depending on how many copies you play and what you discarded off of course, Mermaid. But anyways, now that you guys have seen the combo, I want to go into other things that can extend this further. Obviously, the Trickstar engine is great as well. However, you can also play the Sky Striker engine. I know this card just recently got reprinted, so a lot more people will be probably interested in playing this. We didn't see it in the replay over here, but the Destrudo is an excellent card as well. Oh gosh, I guess I didn't save the other variant, but I wanted to basically mention the Sadia engine as well. This is going to require a lot of cards in the extra deck. That's what I mentioned before, where like a lot of people might not be interested in running it. But what you would do is you would play the Paladion. This will give you that extra Crusadia monster card, and then you want to run this because it is a dragon, and then you would go into Elpie. But then there's also the triple burst. Basically, this would be what you would ideally play, and then you would play this. It requires a lot of stuff in the extra deck, and then of course triple. I like this build a lot too, because this one allows you to spell summon a dragon monster from your hand or deck, and then you would just summon Destrudo. So there's a lot more ways that you can utilize the newer combo. The whole goal is really to make this, and most of the times when you make a Polosa with the new ban list, people will be quitting, because not only did most of the things that were competitive get hit, but in addition to that, there's a lot more random stuff that is getting played now, because people want to test out newer things, and I totally understand. But I'm going to give you guys the plant build. Basically what it comes down to is the plant gives you an additional monster, plus it gives you that added access to instant fusion, specifically going into the Thousand Eyes Restrict or Winda. If you are, however, playing the Mermail variant, and I might make a video on like every specific variant's newer combos, but at the end of the day, it ended up kind of being the same thing. All it did was just summon a Polosa. It doesn't matter if you're playing Dangerous, it doesn't matter if you're playing Mermails. Heck, you can even play the Warrior variant with like the Butterfly. It just, you need an extra like card to go for. And it makes this. It's basically, this is the replacement for Rusty Bardiche. Again, with Rusty Bardiche, you got 2 Fog Blades, which basically negated 2 things, and this thing usually will be negating more things, unless, of course, the attack gets changed, and then you can negate 4. It's usually 3 to 4 negates, I'd say, is on average how many cards you'll be able to stop with this. But yeah, you can keep this in the back of your mind if you want to. But if you are playing the Mermail variant, which is the one that I really like, the cards that I would recommend you to play for the combo, because it's a really simple concept, it won't take very long. So you would play Dine, as well as you would play Teus. Well, Teus you probably already played, but this is like the card that you would search off of it and then you special summon. There is another thing that you can do with this. I don't really recommend that build though, and I've seen the builds with, of course, Abyss Man, where they can go into VFD. Like, the thing that you have to remember is you lose consistency. There's a lot of times where drawing certain cards are just terrible, like in different variants. And of course, like the World Legacy with IB, there's a lot of other variants that you can do, but it all ends up being pretty much the same thing, which is make a Polosa, then you have the standard Orcust combo board. And again, it's basically the same thing, but you get an extra negate and you don't lose to Twin Twisters. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop right into the deck profile, courtesy of our homie that sent in the replays over here, the Broken Gunshot build of the plant. So anyways, again, you can mix and match some of these cards. Anyways, we got World Legacy Scepter, Shrudo. We have 2 copies of Nightmare, the Caribbean, and Candina, then 3 copies of Harp Horror, Armageddon Knight. I've seen people do swap, either running, if you do play the variant with the Dangers, obviously, Grepher could be a great addition as well. That way you don't have to give up your normal. And then we have the Skeleton, 3 copies of the Scorpio, 2 copies of Dawn Cobra, and 3 copies of Lone Fire, 3 copies of Instant Fusion, Reinforcement of the Army, 2 copies of Dragon Shrine. Don't worry if you have to draw them, because you can just reset this card because it gets placed at the bottom of the deck, which you're just going to go ahead and Dragon Shrine later down the line. Then 3 copies of Engage, 1 copy of Terraforming, 1 copy of Foolish, 1 Reborn, 3 copies of Designator, 1 copy of Eagle Booster, Hornet Bit, Light Stage, Ravine, Babel, and of course Crescendo. For the extra deck window, 1,000 Restrict. Then we get Dingirsu, Topologic, which is basically the most important card that you're going to be utilizing most of the time. If you can't do like the full Apollosa combo, you at least have this, and then you have this to follow up with. You basically have these as an option. Then you'll have, of course, Babel or Crescendo, and then you can go ahead and summon Dingirsu, pop something, and then also protect your stuff if you happen to have multiple monsters. And then, of course, Apollosa, which makes the new combo. This card, honestly, it could be Beat Cop as well. This is another alternative. This card, this is more so for the dangers, really than anything, because obviously dark monsters, you can still make it relatively easy in this, obviously, but it's just, if Mermaid gets stopped, you have that as an additional, like, option, and that's one thing I do like with that card, and what this does for card 3. Then we got Phoenix, of course, I'm gonna put these next to each other, and then we have Vil Galatea, Kagari, of course, for your targets, and then we got the Mermaid. So as far as suggestions for this deck, because last format, or it doesn't even seem like it was that long ago, but that last season format, whatever you want to call it, I did place on the leaderboards of Dueling Book, and I really feel like you need impermanence, honestly. Like, this card is just too good not to play. There's so many times where your opponent will just stop you from, like, searching, Colossus, and that can really hurt your deck. That could be instantly GG, and I really feel like Millennium Eyes, if you are playing, is Eyes dash restrict? I think it's Eyes. Is it? This card. This card is so absolutely amazing if you're playing Neo Space Connector Aqua Dolphin, that build, which can technically, if you're playing the Warrior build of Orcust, you can just go into this, and that guarantees your plays will go through. And then if you do play this, though, I would really recommend Link Karibo, because sometimes if you're playing the Mermaid build, you will get stuck, basically because you need your extra zone, so you end up kind of using the dark instead of the other water, which hurts Moulin Glacia, which Moulin Glacia, by the way, I've messed around, and I think Moulin Glacia is totally fine to link off. As long as you can make a Polorsa, it doesn't matter that you lose 1 turn's battle phase, because you're going to be able to stop them from even playing the game in the first place, so that's an option as well. But as far as the extra deck room, I feel like it's really tight. The recommendation, I honestly don't really like this card. But again, you can run B-Cop instead. And then lastly, I know, again, the extra deck room is really tight. However, I feel like this is always a win harder card for me. So if you want to swap that in and out. But I really think that Impermanence is just too good not to play Reborn. In the plant build, I think it works quite well, but in other builds, depending on if you need that normal summon to go off, because if you summon this, you go for its effect, whatever, it gets stopped, and you utilize it as material, or it just gets negated and destroyed, you could just Reborn it. So I like it in the plant build, but for most builds, I think Reborn is kind of outclassed. It's sad to say, but it's like too slow in the game right now. So like, Reborn, if you want to cut that, you can feel free to cut that. You can cut Dragon Shrine if you want to, but there's just a lot of stuff here that gives you just so much utility. I even just really like Twin Twisters. I mean, discarding this is great, discarding this is great, discarding this is great. Depending on, of course, what build you're playing, and sometimes with Mermails, discarding the right card can help out also, just to fill up the grave for certain integers. But these are just my suggestions for you guys that are playing Orcust, because I think it's still a pretty good deck. I don't think the deck is dead at all, but basically the whole point of the video was, just make a Polorsa, and you basically get the most similar effect to Rusty Bardiche as you can with the double Fog Blades. And obviously now you have an extra 4 or 5 slots depending on what you play. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys know any other crazier Orcust combos like that I would like to mention, like I said, I mentioned the Crusade one. It requires too many cards in the extra deck, honestly, for me to really recommend it because, yeah, then you have to play Elfie, you have to play 2 of the Crusade cards. Yes, I understand. It's not too bad, especially with, of course, the newer Salmon Great card. You just link right into it, right? But I mean, you do have, again, a really tight extra deck. I mean, people will be cutting like one of the Nightmares or Cerberus. I'm just like, it's hard, dude. Yo, Konami, increase the extra deck to 15, man. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys know any other crazy Orcust combos, would love to see some replays. Feel free to send them into AzneyesReplays@gmail.com. Yeah, I want this to be more of a blanket video, but we're talking about the plans here. But I think Orcust is still very strong. Let me know, guys' thoughts on this build as well as any other Orcust combos that are more consistent to pull off. I originally, there is a build, I understand, where you can pull off double Trishula with the Glow Up Bulb and Spore, but like, to pull that off, it's really, you just gotta get lucky. I don't think 1-for-1 is bad at all. There's another build of Orcust that I'll get into, which is basically a more pure variant, of course, using the level 1 Orcust. I forgot what his name is. This card, the Bombard. This card is actually pretty decent too. It just lets you special summon an Orcust monster from your hand, which can extend your combos even crazier. But again, to make the double Trish, it's a little bit, you gotta get really lucky, let's just put it that way. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, turn on that bell so you don't miss out on new Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos, as well as going over a bunch of the new builds for, of course, the new 2019 ban list that we just got. Let me know, guys, what you want to see as far as ban lists. I'm trying to do them in order. I plan to pretty much cover most of the meta decks, like, you know, the different ins and outs of them. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out. And I'm out.